I'm sure most of our viewers are familiar with Mr. Beast, but for our senior citizen audience, right, I'm sure we have some old people who are like, who is Mr. Beast? He's, I believe, the most famous YouTuber on earth. Okay, you know, he makes all these charity videos, gives away stuff, blah, blah, blah. Point being, this is the most famous YouTuber on earth. This is a quite influential celebrity in just the world. Well, last week, Chris, who is one of the characters from Mr. Beast, came out as a transgender, or I believe the politically correct term is a 2S LGBT ABC Transformer Decepticon. I think that's the more politically correct term. Now, you may say, sorry, give me a second. Sips water there. I was coughing at the sight of this. Okay, that's what you see. See what you're doing, Chris. See how people feel. You're making people sick. Okay, now you may say, who cares? Like it's a bad thing, but a lot of people these days are becoming Transformer Decepticon people. What's the big deal, right? If it's not hurting anyone, then why do you care all that much, bro? The issue is, he is hurting people. As you see in the photo, Chris from Mr. Beast is a full-grown man with children. Chris is a father to, I believe, a 2-year-old son, which you're seeing an older photo of him in this picture. So we can say, let Chris do what he wants to do. But the thing is, Chris has a responsibility to other people. He has a son. He has a duty to that child. And what Chris is doing, and the reason I have such a big problem with this, besides just the standard, song and dance, is that Chris is abandoning his duty as a father, his duty as a man, and his duty to raise his son as a man in order to basically just play dress up. And that's why I find this situation important to talk about. And genuinely, I find this to be one of the more disgusting examples of the, trans agenda that we have seen, because there are direct victims of this thing besides obviously himself. Okay? Today, there is a son in the world who no longer has a father in his life. They may have a biological male parent, but that man is obviously not doing what a father should do. Today, a young boy looks up at what is supposed to be his father and simply sees a transvestite now calling himself a woman. I can't even imagine what that's like, especially at an age that young. That has to be unbelievably scarring and simply abhorrent to think about. Okay, and I don't care what anyone says. Oh, well, my dad, someone out there, my dad was transgender and I turned out just fine. Did you, though? I'm sorry, I hate to say it. No young boy can watch his father suddenly start calling himself a woman and not be traumatized, confused, and simply impacted by all of it. Of course, the left will cry self-liberation, right? They will applaud Chris for dropping his biological imperative and instead deciding to be trans and all that stuff. They will say, it is his right to be transgender if he wants to. Nobody should be able to stop that, blah, blah, blah. It's his rights, trans rights. Now, regardless of how you feel about the trans stuff in itself, and you know my thoughts on it, let's just actually respond to that take at face value, okay? So hot take, Chris, frankly, I feel trans. I feel like I want to be a woman. I don't care how you feel, and frankly, how you feel should not matter in this situation. You feel like a girl. You feel like this is what you want to do. Blah, blah, blah. Self-liberation. The thing is, there are more important things in your life than what you personally want. Your son, for one, and your duty to be a father to that son is actually more important than whatever is going on here, however you feel. It doesn't matter if you feel or not like being a father at the end of the day. You're still his father. You still have to take care of him, even if you don't feel like doing it, right? That's just life. That's your duties in life as a man, okay? Part of the sacrifice of having a family is that you don't actually get to practice this so-called, self-liberation. Because you have responsibilities, you have duties beyond yourself, and those things supersede your own personal will. Your personal will is irrelevant. How you feel or want to feel is irrelevant. You have a young son at home, and your biological imperative to raise him into a man is more important than whatever personal mental health or identity crisis is going on here. And that may sound cruel and unforgiving, but so is nature, so is the world, so is the reality of being a man. Even if you personally feel like gender liberation is a good thing for Chris, which, again, you know how I feel about it. You know, I know it is not that. Even if you think it is a good thing for him personally, even if you're relatively left-leaning on some of this Transformer stuff, how can you seriously still be okay with this? This is a grown man abandoning his fundamental natural duty to be a father to his son in order to live out what is frankly likely a twisted personal sexual fantasy of cross-dressing. Many such cases. That is not liberating. That is, like, there is nothing good to be said about that. That is selfish. That is despicable. That is disgusting. And it should be reacted to as such. And frankly, I don't care if he quote unquote feels happier this way. Oh, he feels happier. Maybe this is a foreign concept to our society that's obviously so unbelievably self-centered, me. Life is all about you and nothing. You have no duty to anything beyond yourself. But okay, let me just say, when you have children and a family, there are more important things on this earth than your own personal feelings and your own happiness, especially as a father. Maybe that's a radical take. Maybe that's a crazy take, okay? But it is actually your duty to put those things above yourself. And furthermore, I truly reject the idea that Chris feels quote unquote happier. I mean, just look at this man and look at his transformation. Is this just him being happy? Compound that with the context of how this all happened and the knowledge that Chris from mrbeast, again, recently got divorced, and he just got out of his divorce. Do you see the story here? Do we see what's actually going on? This is actually a guy who is troubled. This is a guy who's probably under a lot of stress. He's going through this divorce. He's probably genuinely struggling with a lot of the pressure of the divorce and the pressure probably of being a father and having to be a man in this situation. And instead of giving him, frankly, the kick in the blank that he needs people. He does need people around him to tell him to get his blank together, right? Man up, do your job. Instead, society and culture, and a man who genuinely is probably going through something, right? He has problems, he has struggles. Instead of telling him, you have to figure out how to deal with them, your son is watching like this is your duty. Instead, society encourages him to crack under that pressure and go into this manic episode of cross-dressing, and then is celebrating the manic episode currently happening. That is exactly what is going on here. Chris was not born this way. He developed these mental problems, likely situationally, and now this is a manifestation of all of that. Now, we are told so often that the Transformers they're just really born this way, right? And when a person comes out as Transformer, it's not a phase, it's not a confusion, it's not a Decepticon. They're just realizing who they truly are, who they've always truly been. And this is all, we're told this despite the fact that there has never been found any real genetic link to homosexuality or transgenderism. But come on, really, guys? You mean to tell me that a man, that this man in particular was actually, he's born a Transformer. He's always been like this. He's always wanted to be a girl. And it was only after getting married, having kids, being a man all his life, and then a conveniently timed a divorce that his genetics kicked in at 26 years old, and suddenly he became a Transformer overnight. But he was always like this. It's a genetic condition that people can't control or don't make a choice of in any way. Does anyone seriously believe that? Like, actually? Because that is ridiculous. What is happening here clearly is a manifestation of some degree of mental problems and perhaps mental illness. This is, and I genuinely feel for him in this way, this is a deeply troubled man. And instead of someone stepping in and genuinely helping him, and in this case, someone needs to help him with strength, right? Tell him, listen, it's hard. Life sucks. I get it, but you're a father. You have to step up and be a man for your son. Instead of someone genuinely helping him, we're all supposed to clap and cheer at this episode of instability while a young baby boy sits here and watches all of that. I'm not going to stand for it, especially when Chris's 2-year-old son is internalizing all of this. So Chris, you need to snap out of it. If you have problems you need to deal with, you cannot hide behind them and address, okay? You cannot retreat into just inverting your gender and, Autobot transforming, okay? You need to be a man. Take them out in the gym, find God, whatever it is, but this is not the answer. All right. And I'm not going to stand for this. You shouldn't stand for this. And really, people shouldn't turn a blind eye to this either. It is actually quite an important thing because there's a son again in the mix. And who knows how many people out there who are influenced because Mr. Beast and Chris obviously are very culturally influential. Hey guys, Vince Dao here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from our show. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to check out our other clips and check out the Vince Dao Show live every weekday of the night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's been going great. The people have been loving it. So again, 8 p.m. Eastern Time live Mondays through Fridays here on YouTube. You do not want to miss it. Thanks and God bless.